So for many, many centuries now, it's been an ongoing debate on whether or not the Earth is flat or if it's round, and today I wanted to dive in and discuss the flat Earth and round Earth conspiracies and kind of what makes them up in the first place. So for some background, the round Earth was said to be discovered by the ancient Greeks. There really isn't credit to one particular person. There was just kind of a group of people that were making discoveries and whatnot during the time. So there was, however, a lot of credit given to Aristotle, who declared that he had enough substantial evidence to suggest that the Earth was indeed round. So some of the evidence that he had were that lunar and solar eclipses really kind of showed the shape of the Earth. In particular, lunar eclipses. He said that when the way that the sun reflected the Earth's shadow onto the moon during a lunar eclipse really kind of gave an insight as to what shape it was and just the curvature of the Earth, and kind of proved that it was indeed a more spherical or globular shape that the Earth had. So with that, he kind of thought that was a good piece of evidence, but on top of that, he said that the way we see constellations from above and below the equator and from other parts of the Earth were proof enough of the Earth being round. So he actually made this discovery when he went to Egypt. He went to Egypt, and when he was there, he realized that the way that he saw the stars there were different than the way he saw them in Greece. So he had said that you would just see them from different angles, and there was just certain stars you just couldn't see that he did see back home. So then with the flat Earth theory, there's kind of just been this big ongoing debate for so many years about this. So it's been going back for centuries, many, many centuries, that this belief has been around. But it really kind of gained more popularity in the 1800s when people felt like there wasn't enough evidence to support the round Earth theory. Very different from now, we have a lot of evidence to support that, but it did gain a lot of popularity then. And then it gained even more popularity in 2009, or since 2009, better said. There's been about 200 new believers every year since 2009, and then in 2017, artist B.O.B. created a GoFundMe account that he had dedicated to the research of the flat Earth theory. He gained some interest in it, and then from there really wanted to kind of just get down to the bottom of whether or not this was true or not, and just wanted more evidence supporting the flat Earth theory. It really kind of began in the first place because some people didn't feel the Earth was round enough, and just that it was, or not round enough, the round Earth didn't make sense. Everywhere we go on the Earth feels flat, except for things like mountains and other kind of terrain of that sort. Many, many centuries ago, however, when we still use ships as a main way to travel from different continents and whatnot, and not airplanes, people who were on the ships had a big, genuine fear of falling off the edge of the Earth, and before they would leave, it was often told to be careful about that. So they kind of wondered too, as well as if this fear was more of an irrational fear and just kind of a fear of the unknown, or if it was something that had actually happened and whatnot, and that's why the fear was developed. Okay, so then we have the two arguments. So the two main arguments, as I mentioned before, were that the Earth is flat and we're being lied to by our government. And then the second one is that the Earth is round and we have so much evidence to prove it. So the first big thing is that the Earth is flat. So the name given to, I guess, the big belief that we all believe that the Earth is round, what we've always been taught, the flat Earth believers call it the round Earth conspiracy. They believe that it's a lie that's been fabricated by the government. It's just, they think it's completely false. So they think that any images and satellite images and footage we have of the Earth, it just plain out isn't real at all. And they think it's just been made up by NASA, the government, and other space agencies. So kind of getting into more the shape of what they believe the flat Earth, per se, is that they believe it's a disc shape, with the Arctic Circle and Antarctica in the middle of the center of the disk, per se. They believe that it's surrounded by an 150-foot wall that the government and NASA guards to prevent anyone from falling over the edge of the disk, and just kind of falling off the edge of the Earth, per se. And then they also have this belief that gravity doesn't exist. They think that the gravitational illusion is actually caused by the fact that the disk that we live on is constantly just going upwards. So it just keeps going up, and that's why we feel like we're always on the ground. That creates the gravitational illusion. They also believe that, in a more geocentric theory, they believe that the moon and the sun actually orbit us. So they believe that the moon and the sun orbit Earth. And this is really interesting because it follows a theory that was really popular and highly debated amongst many, many centuries ago as well, and was eventually actually disproven, but, there's that. So the premise to this argument is that the Earth feels flat and there's no visible curvature. And the conclusion is that because of this, the Earth must be flat. So then we also have the theory that the Earth is round. So this is more the theory that we've been taught pretty much all of our time in school. And we've been shown pictures of the Earth and everything. So we've been taught that the Earth is round, and we believe that we've been provided with enough evidence for that to be true. We have, like the flat Earth believers believe isn't true. We have the satellite videos and everything like that. So anything like that, I believe is true. And then we have the fact, okay, so here's a really interesting one. So Dr. Hanley created this method. It's called the midline unifocalization technique. And he charted a course that successfully circumnavigated the globe, and kind of proved that the Earth was round. So he was able to take measurements and stuff and of the curvature and whatnot, and to prove that the Earth was indeed round. Another thing that we have as proof is, as Aristotle mentioned, was the lunar eclipses and the way that it projects its shadow onto the moon. So it really kind of gives us an idea of the shape and what else could it be, And then the other very obvious one I think we would say that kind of just gets passed up is telescopes. We can see other planets and other space bodies, like planets and whatnot, and we see that they are round, so it can only make us believe that we are round as well. And then on top of that, we also have Aristotle's star visibility theory on how we see stars from different points of the Earth. So if you were, let's say, on the North Pole, you would see the North Star would be directly above you, whereas if you were somewhere else on the planet, you may not even see it, or you would just have an angular view towards it. So the premise to this argument is that there's substantial evidence and theories of the Earth being round, dating back for centuries, and then the conclusion is that the Earth has to be round. My personal position, I think it slipped out a little earlier, was that I believe the Earth is round, and I feel that there is more than enough evidence to prove this. I think there's so many little tricks that you can do. I mean, the way we see the horizon and everything, you kind of get to see that, with the horizon line, you see that curvature to it. So I think that it is indeed round. I think when you look, just the way you look out and everything, I believe it's round. Some fallacies with the flat Earth argument are that there are many scientists who have studied the Earth and space and that have come to the conclusion that the Earth is round and that our solar system works the way it does, meaning that the Earth wouldn't, the sun and the moon wouldn't orbit the Earth. So, we believe our trusted scientists and whatnot to give us the correct information and what they believe is to be true. And then that there's also plenty of video evidence, like everywhere on the internet, YouTube, anything, that the Earth is round. And then here are my works cited, and this is my peer-reviewed article.